Hello and welcome to Harley Tillotson once again. Okay, today we are going to optimize the tune on our Tillotson HT1 and HT2 carburetor, and I'll show you how to do that to where we get the optimum tune out of it and the optimum fuel mileage as well. Okay, we want to start out with a good engine with good rings and good heads and a good tune. Our push rods are set right and our timing is set right. And we want to make sure that we don't have any O-ring leaks in our intake manifold. So we want to start with the clean baseline here. So the last thing we're going to do is to fine tune our carburetor for optimum performance and optimum gas mileage. So that's our goal here. Okay, we'll be working with our throttle stop screw here and our low speed needle right on top, and our intermediate needle, which is going to richen or lean the carburetor out right here. And our goal is to have a nice clean burn to our spark plugs, just like this one, where we're not getting any soot, where it's running too rich and it's not starving for fuel while it's under power, while it's under load. So we want to set it just perfectly, okay? And I'm going to stress this point to you that the intermediate is going to play a really strong role in this because they're real sensitive. When you're going to adjust the high speed needle and the low speed needle, they're both kind of sensitive, so especially when you are coming off the adjustment on your intermediate. So if we are going to achieve a very clean spark plug burn and optimize our fuel mileage, we are going to have to be very patient as to how we adjust our intermediate needle. And that's going to take runs up and down the block under load, going through first, second, and third gear, and as we make tiny adjustments on our carburetor. Okay, we are going to start out on the lean side, and then we are going to work our way to the rich side. And then the very first thing we're going to do, we are going to starve the carburetor while it's running and it's at idle. And then we're going to crack the throttle and it'll be starving for fuel because it's going to be lean. And then from there, we're going to do tiny little adjustments, a 1/16 of a turn to the rich side, and keep cracking the throttle until the engine gets full power where it is not starving for fuel. However, it's probably not going to get enough fuel when the bike's taking out down the road, going to first, second, and third gear while the motor's under load. It most likely will not be getting enough fuel, but that's just fine. We're going to turn right around again, come back home, and we're going to keep adjusting the intermediate needle a little bit richer, only a 1/16 of a turn at a time, until finally it's just beginning to get enough fuel while it's under load through first, second, and third gear. And then we're going to leave it alone, okay, where it is just beginning to get enough fuel to go under full power under first, second, and third gear while the engine's under load. Like I said, we're going to leave it alone at that point, and then we're only going to adjust the idle stop screw, or I should say the throttle stop screw, to adjust our idle at 950 RPM. And after that, we'll take longer test rides and start doing some spark plug checks. Okay, let's go to the bench. Let's pretend the carburetor's on the motorcycle. We're going to turn the intermediate screw all the way in until it gently seats. And then we're going to back it out one full turn. And we're going to leave that right there. And we'll do the same to the low speed needle. We're going to turn that all the way in until it gently seats, and then we're going to back it off one full turn. Now that's going to give us enough fuel to start the motorcycle, and then we'll adjust from there. Okay, we're going to start the motorcycle, we're going to warm it up, and then we are going to turn the intermediate to the lean side, which is going to be clockwise, a whole quarter of a turn, which is radical. It should lean out the carburetor enough to where it's not getting enough fuel. And you can turn in your low speed idle at the same time, another quarter of a turn to the lean side. Okay, at this point we are going to crack the throttle while it's at idle, and it should stumble. It should not be getting enough fuel. Okay, that's a good thing. If not, keep on leaning it out until it stumbles. Okay, now let's enrichen it to the left side at a 1/16 of a turn at a time. Just like so. And we're going to crack the throttle again, and if it stumbles again, no problem. Just go back there again. And we're going to go ahead and enrichen it a little bit more to the left side here, another 1/16 of a turn, okay, until when we crack the throttle, it's now under power, it's not stumbling, it's getting just enough fuel, and I mean just enough fuel. So the goal here is when you crack the throttle, when it's idling, you don't want it to stumble. It should be just getting enough fuel at that point. And then we're going to leave it alone for right now. Okay, next what we're going to do, we are going to take it out, we're going to take it right down to block, and we are going to shift through first, second, and third gear, and I would bet you it's not going to get enough fuel. It's going to stumble, so that's okay. Turn it around. We're going to go back and adjust another 1/16 of a turn to the counterclockwise. Okay, we're going to crack the throttle in first, second, and third gear, and if it stumbles again, turn around and come back home and adjust it to the rich side to the left, another 1/16 of a turn, until you get full power while the motor is under load going through first, second, and third gear. Then we're going to leave the intermediate alone, just going to leave it alone. And as I said, you can come up to the low speed idle and you can crack that about a quarter of a turn to the lean side. And while the motor's running, go ahead and get under there and adjust your throttle stop screw to where the motor is turning at 950 RPM and leave it right there. We came off the leanest adjustment possible to richen it up just enough in little increments to where we went down the block in first, second, and third gear under load, and it didn't stumble. It went under full power, and we're just going to leave it right there. So the motor is just getting enough fuel, and we'll leave it set right there, and our idle is set from our throttle stop screw at 950 RPM. Now it's time to go and take the motorcycle out on a longer run, and in my case I rode it for 68 miles, and I was doing a little plug check along the way, okay, and both spark plugs were just running super clean. They were not too lean and they were not too rich. They were running at optimum, where the porcelain on the spark plug was a light brown color. I wasn't getting any black soot around the electrode or on the outside of the spark plug. It was super dry and it was super clean. And every time I came to a stoplight, it idled back down to 950 RPM, where it didn't creep up or it didn't creep down. It stayed right at 950 RPM, and the motor really sounded really good. in all gears and at high speed, say doing 50, 60, and 70 miles an hour. It sounded great. And when it idled back down again at a stoplight, it sounded perfect, and the idle stayed steady at 950 RPM. And at this juncture, just leave the carburetor alone. You just adjusted it perfectly, okay? Where you are getting optimum burn at your spark plug, where it's not too rich, it's not too lean, because you can go through all your gears under full power, under full load, and you're getting full power. Yet, it's running lean enough to where it is really under a clean burn, and where it's not too rich, where you're wasting fuel and you're fouling out your spark plugs. At this juncture, we came off the lean side until you just got enough fuel and you left it alone. We were working with only very fine 16th increments to the rich side going from the lean side. Okay, so what we were doing here, we were adjusting from the 12 o'clock where it was too rich, and we did a radical swing to the 3 o'clock, and then we began to enrich in the intermediate counterclockwise at a 16th turn of a time until the carburetor was set enough to where it was getting enough fuel under load through first, second, and third gear. And it was just getting enough fuel. And we left the intermediate alone at that point. And that is setting your Tillotson HD1 and HD2 carburetor at the optimum setting, to where you're getting a nice clean burn from your spark plugs. They're not too rich, they're not too lean, and you're maximizing your fuel mileage. And there, you leave it set. You leave it alone. You have your throttle stop screw set at 950 RPM, and that's all you have to do. You leave the rest alone, and you should be set. You should never have to touch that carburetor again. You're in great shape. Okay, here after another run, I just came back and I decided to do another spark plug check. And I'm doing sustained speeds of 50, 65 miles an hour for about an hour or so. And the plugs are burning nice and clean. I don't have any black soot on them, and they're not too lean. And they look just perfect. And that's the back cylinder. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and check their front cylinder too. So before I set my carburetor to the right optimum amount, or I should say the right optimum tune, I was having an issue with really sooty black spark plugs, and the back one was a little wet on top of it, so I thought I had bad rings or something, or maybe bad valve guides, but that was not the case at all. It was a simple tune on my carburetor to optimize it, just like I just shown you. So let's take a look at the front spark plug. And there it is. It looks just like the back one. It's burning the same rate. It looks really good. And that's telling me that the rings are in good shape on the front and the back, and the heads are in good shape. It was just a matter of tuning the Tillotson carburetor, and just to get it set up the right way coming off the lean side, to where it just barely gets enough fuel to where when you go through first, second, and third gear under load, it doesn't stumble. And so if you go just a little bit more than that, it's going to begin to run a lot more richer than this, and you'll have issues. So it takes a lot of spark plug checks going up and down, and until you get it set right. but the intermediate is very, very sensitive. You got to go really slow with it. You got to have a lot of patience. And one of the issues that I had, which was my fault, I was taking radical swings with it because I was frustrated trying to get it out of that very rich set that I had. And they looked something like these two right here, except they were a whole lot worse. As a matter of fact, they were filled with black soot, and they were a little bit wet as well. And it was just a matter of setting up my carburetor the right way. It had nothing to do with my rings or my heads or anything like that. So I hope this video helps you guys out in case you have a stock Tillotson carburetor and your Sportster or maybe your Super Glide. Now I know I was repetitive a little bit with this video, but I simply wanted to get the point across because the intermediate is so sensitive. So you have to get it right in order to get that optimum burn on your spark plugs and get the optimum gas mileage as well. So I just wanted to bang a point home because it is a sensitive adjustment to make there. I know I was frustrated at first until I got the gist of it and started coming off the lane setting and gradually went over to the rich setting until I got the burn that I'm getting. So I hope this helps you guys, and I want to thank you guys for watching Max and Tillotson once again. And I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. You take good care of yourselves.